So not only has DEI taken over the universities and the big corporations, Biden just admitted that DEI is the core strength of America, and it starts at the top with the vice president. My co-host for the day is my new little silky bantam. I haven't named her yet, and I'm hoping that it is a she. When we got her, she's a straight run. That means it could be a male or female. So if you hear some little chirps in the background, that's just her. So the incumbent President Joe Biden admitted on Wednesday what many already knew, that he chose Kamala Harris to be his vice president due to the color of her skin and her female identity rather than her qualifications. Speaking at a campaign stop in Philadelphia, Biden said, "To me, the values of diversity, equity, inclusion are literally, and that's not kidding, the core strength of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history." Which reminds me, didn't Joe Biden nominate Ketanji Brown Jackson, the Supreme Court Justice, because the fact that she's black and lesbian? Something that we already knew, but now that Biden is admitting that DEI is the strength of our country, we certainly know that that was his actual motivations. But that aside, I've tapped the full talents of our country, and it starts at the top with the vice president, Biden said.
To me, the values of diversity, equality, inclusion are literally, and that's not kidding, the core strengths of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history. It taps into the full talents of our country. And it starts at the top with the vice president.
When Joe Biden was running for president in 2020, he promised to bring more people to his administration, and that included as his running mate. When considering VP candidates, he told Joy Reid, quote, "I am not committed to naming any of the potential candidates, but the people I've named, and among them, there are 4 black women." In fact, a letter was given to Biden signed by over 100 black men, telling him that failing to select a black woman in 2020 means you will lose the election. The signers included Sean Combs, Diddy, who was under investigation by a grand jury in New York, as well as Charlemagne and the activist attorney Ben Crump, who was a prominent face in the George Floyd affair.
We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
The reason behind the selection of a running mate who was first and foremost black and female was to secure loyal Democrat voters and activists as to make sure they turned out to the polls. You know, I just don't understand how those folks actually reacted that way to Kamala Harris. You know, I mean, whatever. The best way to do that, they figured, was by giving voters a reason that resonated with their identity and not with their ideology. Although perhaps it would be more accurate to say that identity was ideology. As Biden emphasized during his Philadelphia speech, during his time in office, he had instituted DEI initiatives throughout every agency in the administration, penning executive orders and instituting mandates and race-based quotas across for everything from agriculture to health directives to education. After Harris was brought into the ticket in August of 2025, longtime Democrat operative Minion, she did not know if Biden, quote, will ever know what he did for a group of women who stands in the shadows of America. He has decided to write us into history. My nieces will see this in generations to come. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Miss Minion Moore, but Kamala Harris is not a woman that young ladies should be looking up to. Look at Kamala Harris's history and how she moved herself up the ladder with her personal relationships and things like that. To me, it's not a message that I would want to send to my daughter. Harris secured about 3% of the vote when she ran for president in her own right and dropped out of the race early due to the lack of support, reiterating that Americans did not want her as their presidential candidate or anywhere near the White House, and only that Biden, through his DEI initiative, selected Kamala Harris to be his vice president. To me, what DEI represents, the hiring of people, the putting people into position based on their skin color or beliefs, rather than their actual abilities and capabilities, eventually dumbs down the product and makes the company, the entity, worse off for it. Because a competitive company that is hiring based on merit and ability and experience is going to blow past the DEI focused company in no time. Look at what happened to Bud Light last year. Their number one competitor, Modelo, surpassed them for the first time in like 20 some years. What did Bud Light do? They hired Heiner Schneid based on a DEI hire because she's lesbian. She then went and hired Dylan Mulvaney, and then they lost their number one spot. They've been reeling ever since. It's been 14 months. And it has cost Bud Light or Anheuser-Busch an extreme amount of money to recoup what they already had. Look at Target. The word is going into Pride Month in June that Target's Pride displays are going to be something like 10% of what they were before. Prioritizing DEI breeds degeneracy and bad ideas. And also, it really sucks, in my opinion, for the black and brown folks that actually are good at their jobs. See, that's what DEI breeds, a whole new question rather than before, because before DEI was this big thing, people knew that companies were putting their best foot forward, hiring the most qualified people. Now there's a question mark around every single one, and that sucks. That's not fair, and that's what the Democrats breed across our country. And with that, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. If you subscribe, please hit that notification bell. That's what helps me the most, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
I don't want to, choose my words. I was just thinking, anyway, I just, look, I mean, Putin's kleptocracy. It was in January, after being elected. So late January, early February. He said, it's not, we need, not just, well, I won't go into it. Here's what drives the driver in the states that are affected.
President Biden, who I've been around numerous times just in this last year, is sharp, he's focused, he's bright.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on.
He's smart. He's on his game.
I was in almost every meeting with the president, and the president was in front of and on top of it all, coordinating and directing leaders who are in charge of America's national security, not to mention our allies around the globe.